Un momento, por favor, Berta.
She has, ¿cuál es que está estudiando? El 19.
El 19.
She has 4 boys, one 20, one 19, who is also on discourses, the 14-year-old and the 10-year-old.
Sí.
Yes.
En la casa, pues siempre tienen música de rock.
In the
a todo
house.
volumen.
They're always playing rock music.
In the house.
Sí. Y en el carro.
In the
En
car.
todos lados.
Yeah, okay.
A mí me han comentado que debajo de esa música hay información satánica o invocaciones satánicas. Yo quiero saber si sí o si no.
She wanted to verify whether or not there are satanic messages subliminally on the rock and roll tapes.
No.
No.
Bueno,
Do you know what a cucaracha is?
¿Qué es?
Come.
una cucaracha.
It's a cockroach.
Sí.
If they can write a song about la little cockroach, that little cockroach,
Que si pueden escribir una canción de una cockroach, de una cucaracha,
then I guess they have a right to write songs about the devil. I mean,
entonces él cree que tienen el derecho de escribir canciones del diablo también.
see the songs like a little male cockroach goes into a little female cockroach and says, "What are you doing in a place like this?"
Es un chiste que él dice que, on purpose, que una cucaracha varón entra a una cucaracha mujer y dice, ¿qué haces aquí en un sitio así?
Chiste.
Chiste, chiste.
That means joke for her. There are basically these two parts of our nature, and one is like the soul, and the other is the ego. And the soul, our spirit, who we are as a real, true being, is really loving, caring, considerate, touching, uplifting being. Then there's the egoic part, which is seductive, deceitful, and it comes out of the emotion and the mind. And for it, there's never enough. And because it comes out of the emotion and the mind, it's devious, seductive, manipulative. I can list a lot of these things. And when it doesn't seem to get what it thinks it wants, it goes mean. Not only does it go mean, it also goes, and you can kill me and I don't give a shit. Because it has no life sustaining it. Where the soul goes, no, let's don't do that. Don't harm or kill or hurt. So you know when you're in those two different polarities. And the soul one is a taking care of, and the egoic one is kill me, I don't care. It's like I'm at the end of what I can do mentally and emotionally. And now my last thing is mean, ornery, angry, snide, go to hell, and all the nasty things that we can possibly think of. Those are just the way that the flesh wars with the spirit. And we're not really warring against anybody out there. It's like we'll go for a long time being really nice, and things are going okay. Then somehow the ego thing moves, and then we go, I haven't been getting what's mine. And it just goes mean. And it's mean-spirited at the same time. It not only says, I didn't get mine, it goes, and I'm going to get yours, and yours, and yours, and yours, and yours, and I'll die if I have to do it. And these kind get locked up. They get locked up someplace, institutionalized. Sometimes they get married, their wife takes care of them. Sometimes a policeman takes care of them. Sometimes a psychiatrist takes care of them. Sometimes their job will take care of them. Sometimes they go to the military and that takes care of them. But there's got to be a way where the caring in us is nurtured more than the meanness has been nurtured. Because when we're young, often the little kid gets something because they're being mean, and then they get it. And to me, when a little kid's being mean, they get nothing. They've already got the reward. They got the meanness. It's when they stop and they come back into a calm that the very thing they want, then you can supply it to them. But you never supply it to them out of this other thing, because now they're being taught the way you get things in this world is to be mean and take it and what do they call it, bully and push and hurt and hit. And so and that's really hard thing to change once we've been raised and taught that. And most parents don't know how to raise kids, or they would not have raised us like that. They would have picked us up from our meanness and moved us over to our distraction and let us do something else. And then the thing that we're after, they would bring it and supply it to us in the distraction. We would still be able to get it. But they didn't do it. Why? Because they were raised the same way. And we pass these bad habits, if you will, or the sins, as the Bible says, from the parents to the kids, to the parents to the kids, down the line. At some point, we got to break this sucker. And even at the time when we're being mean, we have to, inside of ourselves, have an affirmation that says, I'm mean and I'm really shitty, but I'm still a loving person here and I can't touch it right now. And if you give me some time to get through this meanness, I'll touch back to the loving. And if in the relationships, if we let the person know that, usually when we start to be mean, they'll get up and go out the door and go someplace for a few hours and come back and let us finish up our meanness. Because sometimes we just have to do it. Sometimes running will do it. Sometimes getting on the phone and calling somebody who you've been neglecting to call and tell about something they didn't do. You do that and you go, Jesus, I just got rid of my meanness. Well, that's an incomplete hanging out. And so meannesses can be used to go, and the things that you've been going to do and haven't done, you get your meanness to do them, but you try not to do mean on other people. And so you use the meanness as an energy to go and get these things done. Like, I'm going to go clean out my bedroom. The sucker's been so terrible for so long, nobody clean it. I'm so mean and ornery, and you just go clean it. Great use of the energy. Because often when we're loving and caring, we go, oh, it's okay, I'm going to sleep here again tonight. There's no need to make the bed. How many of you ever thought that? And the things I'm telling you are usually my own confessions. I do these things also. I just don't have a problem with them because I realize it's like I have bowel movements and everybody else does, so I don't have any problem with that. Also with you and your personality, you came in with like the trait of authoritative and the trait of ego, and so you sense innately that when you say something, it should be taken of as the thing to do because you have said so. It's like Mama Yoka, I have spoken. And then this authoritative comes across as meanness. You can still say that same thing if it doesn't come across as meanness. And everybody goes, oh yeah, we're all like that. And you go, yeah, me too. And then now the meanness is a means of communication. It's no longer an object of ridicule or one of subjugation. Also, you're having a hard time hanging on to things, so a lot of the things are slipping out of your hands, like opportunities, because you waited too long to get there to start, to commence, to begin. And then you find out that you got left out or somebody didn't consider you. And then it feels like an affront to the ego. And that kicks up the meanness from out of the stomach area. And then that's when where you really get aggravated. And that chews at you for a while until you like go do something else to make a new venture for yourself, a new opportunity. And in there is this thing called, well, people aren't taking, look, when I help them, then when I want something, they forgot my name. I don't exist. Now, that's a different type of meanness. That's kind of I call it petty jealousy. And but all of these are still in that quality. And I can't look at that as being evil or bad as much as I say it's a mechanism. And you can take those and just know, okay, these people always, when I help them, they take it. When they get something, I'm out. Don't give more than when they take and don't give back to you, you won't feel bad about. In other words, don't tilt your cup to give it to them. Just give of the overflow. And then if they go and they don't show up, you're still full. But when you tilt your cup and pour into theirs and they take off with it and you're almost empty, you go, where's mine? They don't even know you're around. So it's called, is it a selfish thing? Yes, of course it's a selfish thing. But it is ultimately the most self-loving thing possible. That if you've so taken care of yourself that no one else has to worry about you or be concerned about you, then all there is in a relationship to you is loving for you and a trusting for you that you're going to take care of yourself. That changes the relationships to a higher level of behavior, not one of needs and dysfunctions, but one of, I'm handling me, you just handle you. And it can be much easier that way. What this takes to do is some introspective looking. And you'll say there's certain people or certain types of people that always crap on you. And you're always like wiping the crap off, and then they're crapping on you. And I often tell people, if you feel like somebody's shitting on you, don't kneel down, stand up. In other words, get out of there, or stand up so they can't do it. And this means modification and change in your behavior. Not to suit anybody else, but to suit you. And I wouldn't do great wholesale changes in your life because you go crazy. Nobody knows where to put things. I'd take them very slow, make them work, make them work, make them work. Prayer is really important to make work. You know, calling upon the divinity is very important, because sometimes you look around and there's nobody else you can go to, but certainly God and the God within. It's easily available to you because that's who's beating your heart for you while you stand there. And if they say it's closer to you than your breath or your hands or your feet, then it's obvious that's the one who's breathing you. And if it's breathing you, it's in intimate, close contact. But like all good spiritual beings, it won't let you know who it is so you can't manipulate it to your egoic ends. So we're always then in a humble position to the Spirit. And not necessarily humility, but that idea is in there also. But humble, saying, I know it's bigger than me. I know that. The Bible says, greater is he that's in me than the he that's in the world. And for you feminists, greater is she that's in me than she that's in the world. But the Bible didn't say that. And it's not a difficult thing to do. It certainly takes persistence. When we train horses up here, one thing we have to do, persistently do the same thing over and over and over and over until the horse gets it. Then once the horse gets it, we cannot think that horse has got that now because it learned it 6 months ago. Because like all good creatures, as it evolves, it may drop that out. So we have to go back in and redo it for the other side of the horse also. And so we should never look at ourselves like we hear it once, I've got it. What you have is a mental construct, which is sort of the way of saying, I comprehend it, but you never have the understanding of it until you physically, like you can comprehend me putting my ring on my finger like this, but you can't have that experience and understanding until you do it physically. As soon as you do it physically, bang, we're in the same boat. We all have the same, it's not exactly the same thing, but it's a preciseness of what that's about. Now we can talk in abstracts away from it because we have the understanding of what it is. But when you do comprehension and you talk in abstracts, you have to find out what school of thought the abstraction's coming from to know what they're meaning by the words they say. When you talk to people and you have mean and honorary with them, be precise and to the point of why you feel like that. Because they may say, I didn't know that. I can change that easy. I didn't know it needed to be changed. And you're not necessarily saying change it. You're just saying, here's what I'm angry about. If you say, change this, now you're going to try to control things in the world, and they backfire. But even telling somebody how you feel often is such a good feeling just to tell somebody. And if they hear you, they may say, I heard you, you're really angry at me, but I'm not going to change doing that. And you go, okay, fine. But now you know. And this is what I call fundamental communication. Just stating the information back and forth. And sometimes it'll get hostile, sometimes it'll get heavy, sometimes it'll be yelling. Those are all just processes of getting into the loving. And sometimes we're yelling at not the person, but at a thing that's going on. And the person will think you're yelling at them. You go, don't waste your time. I'm not yelling at you. I'm yelling at this other thing. I had a friend that you'd talk to him, and he would just get so angry. And somebody said to him, they says, well, why are you so angry at me? He says, I'm not angry at you. I'm angry at myself. Well, I always thought he was angry at himself because he felt incompetent to do anything, so he'd get angry. And I said, why don't you just stop being angry, get up and go do the thing? And he did and got over the angry. These are not hard, difficult things. They're simple. We understand it up here, but we don't understand the doing of it. And as soon as you do it, the comprehension is wild. It's amazing. Do you notice that when you're driving a car, doing something, you can have the most wonderful thoughts about other things? That's amazing. But there's no way to record it. As soon as you stop to record it, you can't remember the thing. So I take a tape recorder. Or if it's somebody I've got to talk to, I hit the telephone while I'm driving. Bam, I got that thing. It's gone. It's outgoing. It's away from me. Because I know as soon as I stop and get around to think about it, I won't even know what I got around to think about. As soon as I get in the car and take off again, it's like, there it is. Somehow or another, it's stuck behind the wheel of a car. If I'm in the passenger seat, I won't think of it. I'll just go to sleep. I go into, like this. Down the road in the car. If we're working under strong mental discipline, it matters very little what the patterns have been up to this point, because you're not going to let the pattern through anyway. Let's say it was maybe some sexual aberration or deviation or something like that. And you can sense it that you do it and you go, nope, I'm not giving into it. And having mental dominion right now stops that. So what happens is it still gets its chance to express in you, but not through you. And so you may go home and read some book about something or other and say, that did it, whatever it was, it's off me, and you didn't have to go do it someplace. I'm probably the strangest one around, because to me, I go, just go do it with somebody who wants to do it with you, and it's done. And if they don't want to do it, don't do it. And if you have to do it by yourself, go in your bedroom and do it by yourself. Another one would be to go to an analyst that's real good at getting into those areas and bringing them forward, surfacing them, and they seem like they let go. What you don't want to do is you don't want to lose the wisdom of your past experiences. You just want the emotional push off of them so they don't push you around, and so that you still have your wisdoms without the emotional discordance. And so to release the emotion out of it, spiritual exercise is not necessarily designed for this level, but sitting down and getting quiet to start to do spiritual exercises, that introspective look, might hit those areas inside of you and start to surface them out also. I would go into the area, if I knew what the area was, let's say, I want to go flash women, with an old dirty raincoat. I would go inside of myself and say, what is this inside of me that wants to do this? Where is that located? I want it lifted from me. I want it cleared from me. I want it released from me. I want up to know, what is my lesson to learn from this? I would be asking myself mental questions as I go back inside there and look. And I would ask myself, has this come out of childhood with my mother, my father, at the age of 1 or 2 or 3? And I would say, I want my unconscious start to kick this up, to let it up as warmth, to let me know I'm close. Only if this is from my highest good to know at this time. Because I may get it up and then go absolutely crazy, where if it came up in 2 weeks, I might have handled it real well. So it's a caveat to protect yourself against your own eagerness to know. But none of it is, none of the problems we have are problems unless we focus on them as problems. Like, this water is almost half full. Is that a problem? I didn't say half empty, or it might have been. But if I said there's water in here halfway in the glass, that might have been the more neutral statement. But if somebody keeps focusing upon that's not enough to drink, they've got a problem, and it may be ample for me to drink, and I have no problem. And so it's like me saying to you, don't think of the Eiffel Tower. What's in your mind? Or don't look at the dirty floor. And so if you've got a problem, instead of saying don't look at the problem, you look at the problem. When you know that comes up, say, think of sunshine, think of rainbows, think of wonderful, beautiful things that take you from that to another sphere, and you start to transmute the negativity of it up to the brilliance and start to live in that direction, and the energy starts to flow that way. Now you have more energy to do things with than to fight and try to hold something in reserve, like to contain it. Some things as we grow up too, we just almost have to be forgiven for automatically by our hormones and by our society. I think almost every guy that I grew up with, and the reason I know this because I was with them. We went trying to peek in all the girls' windows we could to see them naked. Voyeurism. I mean, it's probably a very serious psychological illness. It's just every guy below the age of 18 was sick. And the kids that were 7 or 8 who couldn't climb the tree, the older ones of us would get up there and reach down and pull them up. And there'd be 15 people up in the tree trying to watch a girl undress, and she'd pull down the blind. That's okay. She didn't help us at all in our alleviating our stress. So we'd just come back another night. You know, you understand what I'm saying? Then we sit and talk about them, and we would tell this girl, we were all in the tree last night trying. She says, I heard you guys out there. You're making so much noise. We go, well, why didn't you leave your window blind up? I said, well, no, because I knew you were there. If I didn't know you were there, so then we go, well, next time we'll be quiet. It's like, we're out here, but we're quiet. You know, you have to understand a lot of this is just the growing up, and you don't think back, oh my God, that was a problem, as much as you think the problem was I fell out of the tree. The problem is I scraped my legs getting up or down. That was the problem, because you weren't man enough or macho enough or male enough to scale the tree with agility. And if these things fall within that, you don't even do forgiveness. You just do, laugh and go on about it because, you know, and there's just so many, some of us get down and look through keyholes to see our sisters undress. You know, or try to look through the bathroom keyhole to see what's going on in the bathroom. Usually a white towel over the keyhole is what's going on in the bathroom. Because everybody's got keyholes in bathrooms, hang towels over. What do they all know? Why do they all know that? Why couldn't there have been some who didn't know? Because you'd be going on all the rest of your life on your knees looking through keyholes. So somebody had to discourage the behavior early, that's all. And you have to have a funness inside of you that this is an okay thing. And maybe those are some of the driving patterns out of the past of why we choose what we choose to do what we do. There are probably some psychologists that are versed in that could give us some pretty funny answers. But I'm pretty much content inside of me to say, yeah, we've done it all, so what? And I don't come up with an answer, so what, because what so is I'm not going to do that now. Now, what about 30 minutes from now? When it shows up, I'll address the issue. I'm always addressing an issue of nowness. Things will want to come in here, like something came in a few minutes ago and said, go down and see what the horses are doing. You like that? And I was going to say, let's quit early. But I addressed that inside of myself, and I said, that's not the nowness that I'm in. That was a thought that went through. And I didn't focus upon it, except now I just acknowledged that I had it, and I didn't let it run me, and I just told you about it. So it doesn't have to run you, and thoughts persisted in are going to be the actions that you end up doing. So I didn't persist in the thought. I stopped the thought, I moved it, and came immediately back present. Those can go through real fast. Like while I'm talking to you, you can think of 2,000 other things. Anybody in this room can do that. But you'll stay here back enough that you'll get enough of what I'm talking about that when you walk away from there, you'll piece it together. See, all we're doing when we remember what we've heard is piecing together parts of information to make something seem complete and whole to us. Then we call it accurate or real. Or we say, I remember. And I go, you reconstructed something that feels comfortable to you, and it may not be accurate at all. Especially if you're hallucinating at the same time it happened. And if you've done that 400 times, who knows what any reality is? And that's male or female. And then it's like, whoa, now you're into a whole new ball game. And I say, just don't play the game. When it shows up, you just in your mind, you go next, next, next. And if nothing shows up and it goes blank, often that's like a whiteout. There's nothing there. It goes peaceful and calm. You might say, you know, I think I'm feeling the presence of God or Spirit. There's something real nice. And I go, don't do anything with that. Don't discuss it. Just be in it. Don't try to tell somebody, oh, God, I just felt the Spirit of God, because it's gone as soon as you start that. You just sit there and let it go through and let it go through. When it's all through and it's done, then you may say, well, I don't want to talk about it now, it's over. Pretty soon, it'll be there enough for you to say, right at this moment, some people will get so nervous that they can't talk, and they'll just stand there and shake. And some people have done enough, they'll be shake, and they can still talk while they're shaking. And some people have got the shakes under control, and they keep on talking. And these are all just patterns of our explosion and expression and moving out in our life. It's no more nor less. And so don't make it any more nor less. Just say, that's like breathing in or swallowing. Or it's like your stomach gurgling, involuntary, you have no control over it, just did it, and you go, and go on about your business. Everybody should be babied more. When we get hurt, we should be able to go to somebody and cuddle up in their arms and let them hold us for a while and nurture us and strengthen us back out again, because somehow we didn't get that part when we were growing up. And I don't care how old we are, and I'm of the very strong persuasion when somebody's getting ready to die and the doctor says they're going to be dead here in 5 or 10 minutes, hop in bed with them and hold them and cuddle them and sing to them and talk to them and be there with them. Because to some people, it's terrifying to them. And if they knew that somebody was going to be there that would like handle anything that they would feel they couldn't handle or would want handled, it would make that part of the process of their death more of an experience of enlightenment instead of a fear of the dying, and something we'd look forward to than we cringe at. And so I've got in bed with people that have been dying and held them. And they just told me, they looked up at me before they closed their eyes and they say, thank God you did that. I didn't get to say, oh, think nothing of it. Gone. And some people say, doesn't that bother you? I said, it bothered me a whole lot worse if I didn't. But then I also don't lay there and hold a body where there's nobody in it. I also know I get out and go, well, let's take care of this now and dispense with it. I even was so rude as to say, it's just a carcass, get it out of here. And then somebody said, don't talk about it like that. And I said, fine, so I don't, except just tonight. None of these things really mean anything except the meaning that we place on them inside of ourselves, each individually in our own way, in our own method. I don't expect anybody to do theirs the way I do. I respect mine. I respect theirs. I don't necessarily care to participate in theirs. But I still respect it enough that I wouldn't try to stop them from doing it either. If somebody says this is how we're going to do it, and everybody agrees to it, and I don't agree to it, I get up and walk out because I'm not going to be part of it. It doesn't mean I'm condemning it. It just means, no, I'm just not going to do it. See, I don't live up to people's expectations regularly. And I'll tell you why I don't, and maybe why others don't but don't do it, is because you must rely upon your own strength at all times anyway. And then rely upon the strength of your spirit to see you through, and God on that. After you've done that, then go ahead and go to a person for their part that they can supply. I tell you, the most amazing thing about all these people that are dying, and we're always going to miss these people. And you're never going to miss them so much as that when they're in town, you could have called them and gone to see them. But as soon as they die, you want to go talk to them. It's like, oh, I wish they were here. I want you. And you could have said all sorts of things. So I tell people, go talk to them while they're alive so that when they're dead, you won't say, oh, I wished I would have said, or this or that, something else. Deliver the information. It's like, hey, I'm divorcing you, but I want to let you know I love you and I'll never be talking to you again. But have a good life. And that's maybe something you'd want to say to somebody. Say it, because they may drop dead and you think, whew, I'm glad I got that in. Even though my mother and father died many years ago, I still miss them. I'm glad I still miss them. That missing is not grieving. I did that. That's something that we do. Sometimes I even want to deny they're dead. And I go, well, I'm still into some types of denial. That's interesting. Then I'm off doing something else. Because I acknowledge these things as they come up, rather than go, oh God, should I be doing something? I don't even question it. If it comes up, it comes up. See, you can only use happy in terms of here, because that's the construct for here. On another level, that isn't the way it applies. It's called liberation or freedom. It's a whole different feeling, aspect, perception of your existence. Where here it's limitation, restriction, confinement, and then we try to be happy with that. Often. And I say, just make the best out of it you can. Sometimes it's bad, still make the best out of it you can. Try to have that focus of the best of it is there's something to learn here, and what can I learn, and how can I grow, and is this really for me, or is this going to be for somebody else? Because sometimes it'll happen, you go, why is this happening to me? It's not for you, it's for somebody else. You're getting the experience. When they come along, you're going to share it, they're going to jump over it. And that's the karma you've had to pay to them. It's amazing, though, after you do it and you've delivered it to them, you feel so good that you did do it for them. It's like, yeah, man, that's even. Weight goes off of you. Men are worth worshiping. But also, women are worth worshiping. But the word I'm using here is not this one, nor is it this one. It's this one. You understand there's a difference? Worship or warship or worthship. And it is your own sense of worth that you must value, which is the worship. But if we can't find a value intrinsic to ourselves, then we find a value outside of us intrinsic. And let's just say Jesus the Christ would be a value that would say, that's worthy. So if I perform in relationship to that, then I must perform in the sense of worth to that, which will elevate me from whatever my baser instincts are to another level of response. That gives me then a sense of being worthy of the worship of others who are also coming up, because they'll say, see how he did it. He's got his eyes on the Lord. So we all become role models and fact finders and trailblazers for those coming along behind us. That's why it's really important that we attempt to do good, because good is the right thing to do, but it also shows other people what good might look like. Not what perfect is or excellent, just what good is. And being good allows for making mistakes. And so there's no problem with that. But there is a contradiction in saying there's God over there and then there's man over here. God is in man. Man is in God. And it's not just a process of information, it's a process of moving it through your beingness so that you say, there are things that man do that are not the part that God is. And that's maybe what we were talking about earlier, where there's that meanness in us that's hurtful and spiteful. And if we can understand that that sort of goes with this physical form called humanness, we might then have a great sense of forgiveness before it even takes place, so we don't have to forgive it afterwards. We go, that's what they do. That way, what we're dealing with then is seeing past the meanness of a person into the divinity that's holding them anyway, and that means we have to upgrade our vision to see past their physical things into the spirit part. It's not necessarily easy. It is a challenge. It can be done. Have you ever seen a little girl or a little boy like a year or two old, and they'll do something, they'll break a glass or knock something on the floor? Do you kill them, or do you also love them as you clean up the mess? You've seen past what they've done to their spirit, the divine in them. But when the person gets older, you then refuse to do that. Why? Well, because now our rule says they should know better. But maybe they don't know better. Maybe that person just doesn't know better They never were taught it. They never knew it. And you're going to judge them for your rule regulations that you put on them. It'd be further ahead to say, hey, I bet you didn't know in this country we don't do this particular thing. And they go, what thing? And you tell it to them, they go, really? In our country, everybody does that. You go, it's a cultural shock to you. But you do that over here, you get in trouble. The person says, gee, I'm glad you told me I won't do that. That allows them to then modify their behavior according to information of the time they're in, rather than running a regulation on them that they know nothing about. And to then withhold from them information and hold hurts against them, and you hold the hurts inside of you. If you're holding hurt, you can't hold the love. They sit in the same place. When people say, I love you, you hurt me, but I love you, nonsense. There's more hurt or there's more love. Well, I don't think that anybody in this room is going to be unique to what I've just described, like saying, oh, I'm overcome, I've mastered all that. The spoiledness that we are, if we don't get our way, we have a hurt that goes with it. And then we look to the other person we're in a relationship with to say, why didn't you supply what I was after? And their point of view is, why didn't you tell me? I don't read minds. Our point of view is, well, you should read minds. We've been together long enough. So we got a whole category agenda that we place against them, and they're wondering, what's going on here? Are we in separate movies? You're doing Gone with the Wind, and I'm doing Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. What's up here? Well, I think that when you get into an area of judging, that you want to judge things against the criteria by which they're judged. In our courts of law, we must be judged by our peers. So I think if you're judging some person against a criteria, you should judge them against the criteria of all men. You should not judge them against the criteria of an enlightened being or a Jesus or a Buddha or somebody, or a fantasy on a motion picture screen. That's not being judged by a jury of the peers. And use that as the reference point. And if they're holding up their end, I'd say that's fine. They're doing fine. See, I'm under another impression that if we're really thankful for what we got and what's going on in our life, we will have good relationships. But that doesn't mean be a fool. It means ask the dumb question in the relationship so you don't become or a person who's been conned out of something out of dumbness. But it's still being thankful for them. You can be thankful for who you got and still ask them, how much money do you have in that CD? Those are not incompatible terms. Because you want to know what the barriers are, how much you spend, how much you don't spend. How do you cooperate if you don't know what it is? In our family, my mother and father talked about finances all the time. They knew every day how much money there was for whatever. Because they talked about it. She'd go buy something. She'd say, oh, I bought some earrings. How much were they? $1.95. Okay, where are they? She put them on. She said, oh, they're beautiful, honey. But he knew that was what that was. It was never, oh, you can't spend that, because she knew how much money there was also. And he might say, where'd you get the money? She said, I've been saving for 6 months. There was always a balance that was working. And when we communicate this open information, even if one person does it openly, you got about 90% of the relationship working. But that other 10% is a real bitch when it comes into play. But then you have to play it out also to get 100. Listen, negative thinking is very fun to get involved in because it kicks up inside of us a feeling of self-righteousness. And then we all get to feel so right. And it's a very addictive feeling. And you can be so wrongtious trying to be so righteous. I tell people, give up negative thinking because you're doing it out of a feeling of righteousness. It doesn't work. That is why it's karma. If we relate to it, it's our comfort zone. And that can also be a karma. Because karma doesn't tell you, I am karma. And the devil always comes dressed as a gentleman. If he came with the fire and brimstone and blowing smoke, we'd all get out of there. Because we're not stupid. But it doesn't come that way. And so you hear the things, the price for freedom is eternal vigilance. You say, well, I've been vigilant now for 3 hours. I think I'll go into negative critical thinking for the next 4. And I go, well, that isn't what was said there. Eternal vigilance. See, you know how to do good, you know how to do right, and you refuse to do it. Now what do we do with somebody like that? Folks, I don't have an answer. The reason why he's made those statements, you know what's right and you know what to do right because you stood there and told me. I do negative thinking and I know I do it. You do negative thinking over things that don't work, you know they don't work. Because you think you're right. You are doing the right-wrong game. I'm righteous, you're wrongtious. Now, did anybody ever hear me say those words before here talking to her? Yeah? So now I've said them. If you ask me that again, I'm going to say, thank you, sit down, because I have nothing more to say. But if we want to go into another vein, I'm really glad to do that. See, one thing you haven't given yourself credit for, your great endurance. I mean, you put up with stuff that I would have killed over a long time ago. And I go, whoa, this lady's got patience and endurance and karma. Maybe your karma is endurance. It won't allow you to make the course correction. Fear has never stopped any of us from doing anything. Have you ever had fear about something and done it anyway? Fear does not stop you. Have you ever had fear and then your response to the fear stopped you? You people understand that? Get it clear what it is. It's much easier to deal with. Then when your response to the fear stops you, at least you know it's you. And you don't go bitching and complain to anybody else. You go, listen, I'm not going to bungee cord today because my response to the fear the bungee cord isn't going to let me jump today, so I'm going to just look at the birds. And watch everybody else bungee drop. Maybe one day when I get up there, I won't have the fear and I'll jump. Maybe. And so you may go up there 20 times and never jump. At least you're having fun going up and down. I'd find enjoyment. I'm really serious about this. See, I don't live an exciting life. I live a very happy life because I got the thing jerked around in a straight line and I just have to walk it. You might say, would you go bungee jumping? No. I'm not going to get up on top of tall things. A horse is high enough. When I was young and immortal, I did all those things. Now that I'm older and mortal, you never know which one's going to bang you up. Take it easy. All the people that are about my age are going, yeah, right on, man. Right on. We don't even dance fast anymore because we may make a turn, our hip will go out of the socket. I mean, in our age, the waltz starts to become very popular, and the slow dance, even the polkas we get concerned about. Does this sound like I'm picking on you? I'm just telling you what I see. If I see wrong, you dismiss it. If it happens to be that matches what's going on, you may make a correction, you may go, no, I like that anyway, and that's just fine with me. Because you're doing it. You've got to deal with what your mind and emotions. I only have to deal with mine. So I just deal, well, I don't say I only have to. I do some other things. I'm not going to tell you what you have to do and not have to do. That's called your 10%. You decide that. I already told you my decision. And if you want to adopt that decision for yourself, you do that out of your own authority inside of you, not because I'm giving it to you or telling you anything. Everybody has to own their own authority. Everyone. And if you give it over to somebody else and it doesn't work for you, if you say, I don't like it, then don't give it over to somebody else and they can't do it to you. The only way somebody can shit on you is if you're down below them. Stand up and walk away and they can't do it. You people understand what I'm saying? Somebody go to yell at you and you don't want to be yelled at, you walk far enough away so when they yell you can hear it as a whisper. There are all sorts of ways to handle this life, just all sorts of ways. And the phone rings, you do not have to answer it. And if somebody knocks at the door, you don't have to open it. And you don't have to promise to call anybody to do anything because they say, please, will you call me tonight? You don't have to say, yes, I'll call you, I promise. You go, I don't know if I will or I won't. Sit by the phone if you want to, or get a portable and I'll try to call you or give me your beeper number. And that what you're saying is, very frankly, you're not that important in my life that I'm going to structure my existence around a phone call. Now, if that hurts anybody's feelings, we're really all going to be in for some hurt feelings. Because we all do this to each other. I called and called and called. Where were you? Oh, I went to see a movie. Without me? Yeah, well, I knew you didn't want to go because you wanted to call me, so I figured you'd rather talk on the phone, so I went to the movie. Does that make convoluted sense? Yeah. See, to me, I've never gone to anybody with my hurt feelings, where they've hurt my feelings, because very frankly, I'm in charge of those. They may do something, I hurt my feelings because of what they've done. So why put it on them? Because they didn't know what was going on. So I always go back to me and go, you got hurt feelings, JR? Well, then you did it, so undo it. I go, well, I can't undo it, so I'll just forget about it. Boom, they're gone. Most people have hurt feelings, and they track those suckers like you can't believe. 15 years later, they can remember everything that happened because they keep updating that information right on schedule to see whether they're still hurt. And I go, who wants to be around you? You're busy tracking your hurt feelings. Don't you want to track some loving? Don't you want to track some conversation? No, I want to track the hurt feelings. Who hurt your feelings? Oh, the person's dead now. Okay. You know, Jesus said, let the dead bury the dead. He was pretty emphatic about letting things go. And if you're saying, well, but I'll get hurt feelings in the future, yes, you will. It's guaranteed. Somebody out there's got your name written on some hurt feelings. But you're the one that's going to hit yourself with it. Nobody else. One of the people who was working up here, volunteer, said, I got kicked by a horse. I said, what are you doing on a horse's ass? He said, I was walking behind a horse. I said, why are you walking so close? Well, I didn't think the horse was going to kick me. I said, now you know that. And I turned around and walked away. And they said to somebody, you know, he isn't a very caring person, is he? I turned back to him and I says, you can't come up here anymore. That's how much I care for you. You'll get hurt. You can't come anymore. They haven't come anymore. See, caring is really caring. And telling a person, a horse's nature is to eat and shit and kick and bite. And if you don't get that clear, don't go around them. Now, they'll modify their nature around you if you treat them such. But I never make a horse a pet because then they kick me and bite me trying to get me in line so they can eat and drink first. When I walk up, they see me coming, they go, watch out, this guy here demands respect. And they turn around and I'd say, watch me. And they turn around and they face me. Why? I want them to know what I'm doing so they keep their feet under them. And they go to bite me, I tell them, keep your mouth shut. You open it when I put the bit in. If they want to nicker at me, fine, I'll talk. Do you understand the reality? There's a story told about a fox. It was a scorpion went up to the fox and said, take me across the river. And the fox said, no, I can't do it. And he says, no, take me. He says, no, you'll sting me. He says, no, I won't. I promise. He says, no, you'll sting me. He says, no, fox, take me across the river. My family's over there. Fox says, can I trust you? He goes, yeah, you can trust me. So the fox said, okay, get up here on top of my head so you won't get wet. And just about the other shore, the scorpion turned and stung him. And the fox was laying there. He says, God, I'm going to die now. Why'd you sting me? You promised you wouldn't. He says, how can I help it? It's my nature. So when somebody promises you something, look at their nature, what they do. Just watch what they're doing. You watch them long enough. I call it courtship. Take 2 years to watch what a person's doing with you when you're with them. Listen to what they say. Watch what they do. Because what they do is going to be the behavior they're going to persist in. Then you decide whether you want to be involved in that behavior. If you get stung enough, you'll wise up. Berush Beshan.